Hello guys, Termex here, and today we're doing a Throne and Liberty Crossbow Dagger Build Guide. There's a lot of long-winded videos on YouTube, and I kind of got annoyed, so based off my knowledge and what I've been doing and how I've been playing, I'm here to tell you the good combos to run, the best Guardians to run, at least now for level 50 during the first week of launch, and I'm going to go over which skills you should be prioritizing, which passives you should be prioritizing, and what you should probably hold off on the back burner until later on in the game. There will be timestamps at the bottom of the video, so we're going to go over the crossbow first. Crossbow, the number one ability you want early on is quick fire. This will be your main source of damage, just because there's another ability by the name of nimble leap as a skill specialization, which allows you to reset the cooldown of quick fire. And quick fire already only has an 8-second cooldown, but the fact that you can burst combo it is very powerful. But nimble leap is also very amazing because you just get a raw range increase, critical damage increase, attack speed increase, and it's a movement ability on top of that. So in PvP especially, it's going to be very good. Mortal Mark is also another great one as it guarantees a weaken proc and deals a pretty good amount of damage. Now, recoil shot I kind of put on the back burner. If you like to stack repulsive force, which is a mechanic that every time you use a movement ability you get a stack of it. If you get 3 stacks, you could do a insane shot that deals like 700-800% of your max amount of damage. This is definitely a route that you can take. I just personally did not like it, but that doesn't mean it's a bad skill, just doesn't personally fit with my playstyle because you can only put 12 abilities on screen, and I didn't feel like this outweighed any of the other ones I do have. We also have collision shot, which is actually a skill specialization on the original skill. Now, the original skill's name is multi-shot. I think multi-shot is just boring. Just get collision shot in the skill specialization and it becomes a top tier ability because it's a guaranteed chance to push targets back, unless of course that attack misses, then obviously it's not going to push anyone back. Very good defensive skill in both PvE and PvP. Now, selfless diffusion you could look at as basically a DPS buffer, which allows your double attack chance for your other hand to be increased. You could apply weaken, stack damage with weaken, probably one of the better abilities in the entire game. Plus, you could have a remove CC in the skill specialization, which makes it just a monster in any PvP scenario. And now your most important skill as a crossbow dagger user is going to be the Mother Nature's Protest. This will allow you to choose an element basically through your skill specialization, and you can choose lightning, frost, flame, and gale arrows. In my experience, lightning arrows are just the dominant damage dealer and dominant AoE if the enemy is wet or frozen, and I think that's a great synergy because if you're doing dungeons, if you have a staff on your team, they have multiple means of getting the target wet and, you know, applying frost. Mana exchange, I think early on it's kind of useless and it's still kind of iffy with me. If you don't have enough sustained gear yet, don't really use it, but it's not really a top priority. Explosive trap, kind of a mid ability until you can get the shock bomb specialization, which has a 80% chance to stun somebody for 3 seconds, which is another deterrence in PvP and probably only usable in PvP. I mean, you could use it in PvE if you want. And then finally, barrage shot. This is going to be your spin to win, and the only way you get that AoE cone is if you go over into the skill specialization and you actually get the annihilation barrage shot. Now, I want to talk about the weak point and the wind snatcher. Wind snatcher is good for movement speed and attack speed, which is a overall DPS increase. If you want to use less dagger, I would swap out any dagger abilities in order to use this if you want that DPS increase and the movement speed increase. It is very, very good, especially in PvP. Now, in PvE, it's a little bit of a different story. You don't really need the movement speed, but in the attack speed could or couldn't outweigh some other damage dealing skills, completely up to you. But in PvP, I highly recommend you invest in the Wind Snatcher because this ability alone could win you so many fights because you're just moving faster than they are, you're attacking faster, you're getting more damage out as much as you can. And then weak point shot, this is another one that I will bring up. It is for the critical damage builds. If you do want to do critical damage builds, then obviously go this route. My build doesn't really pertain to that as I'm a burst DPS, more or less of a weaken build with a little bit of crit thrown in there. But if you're going to go for even more weaken and crit, you could definitely run weak point shots. And just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to put a color coordinated thing on screen in terms of priority with all these bow skills and allow you to choose which ones you should upgrade first and last. But again, this is just from my experience. If you find things are powerful on their own, then of course tell me in the comments down below. As for the passives, your go-to passives are going to be pretty self-explanatory, but for me personally, you need Nature's Power. Anytime you use a mobility or movement skill, you get bonus damage and skill damage for 3 seconds. No brainer. Eagle Vision is also really good because when you attack a target, you get increased range hit chance, which is a very important thing, especially in PvP. If you're going to want to actually hit your damage, you could have all the damage in the world, but if you don't hit your target, that damage doesn't really matter that much. Ambidexterity is actually kind of iffy. I kind of liked it early on, but as I progressed into the game, I learned to not like it. If you're going for a crit build, definitely definitely run it a lot more. Piercing Strike, I've learned it sounds really good on paper. I even got it to a blue, but the difference with stamina regen and bonus damage just aren't really there at the moment. Hopefully when the game progresses and this turns into a purple ability, maybe it'll be more noticeable, but the bonus damage was something I didn't really notice in my testing. Bloodlust is a necessity. Bloodlust, every time you basically hit a skill hit, you get damage increase that stacks up to 10 times. You get critical damage increase that stacks. Very, very good. 100% your number one priority in the entire bow passive tree. This is 100% your number one priority for passive skills in the crossbow passive tree. This one right here, Corrupt Nail, again, weaken hit chance if you need it, but I'm gonna put this at the very bottom, probably the worst crossbow passive there is, because you have so many abilities that guarantee a weaken proc that increasing your weaken chance just really doesn't mean much. And then finally, Detection. Getting attacked gives you a 30% chance to increase your movement speed and your magic, melee, and ranged evasion for 3 seconds. This is a must-needed survivability skill, and I would put that towards the top of the priority list as well. Going into the dagger, I know there's a bunch of dagger skills everywhere, but I'm going to rank these skills specifically based off these synergies if you're mainly using bow. Staff dagger is going to play completely different than a crossbow dagger or a normal bow dagger, so this is going strictly off of crossbow. I want you to ignore every other ability you see on this screen other than 3. 3 of the dagger abilities are the only ones that matter to you if you're mainly using crossbow, and that is going to be the cloaking, which just increases your cloak duration, gives you CC immunity through the specializations, probably one of the best skills in the entire game. The second one you're going to look into is Shadow Strike. This one allows you to leap to a target and basically root them for 4 seconds, and that's absolutely insane. And it also does silence them, which is something that is also pretty annoying in a PvP scenario. And the last one is Inject Venom. Doing this just allows you to have all your attacks apply poison. I know the reading may be off because a lot of this is translation from the Korean servers over into English, but it basically just means it says coats your daggers, but it coats everything that you're doing. It coats your bow, it coats all your skills. Those are the main 3 you need to care about. The rest, whatever, use it in a situational occurrence. I mean, if you want anti-healing, put on the Stigma. If you want to be more survivable and help in group play, then the Phantom Smokescreen is really good, as it gives you 100% evasion chance while you're standing in it, and it applies to all your enemies nearby. Probably something you're going to see a lot more in large-scale PvP. And if you're curious about Frenzied Sword Dance, if you're playing a squishy build and you're mainly using crossbow, this can work. The only thing I don't like about it right now is it kind of jumps targets too much. When you're attacking one target and you're trying to like stack onto that target, it will change your priority. So let's say you're in a PvP situation that's a 2v2 and one guy's really low. If you sword dance them, sometimes it will go to him and then jump to the other guy you don't want to attack. And I find it very annoying. I wish you could just like keep it on one guy if no one else was close. It's still good though if you want to use it in that right. Now, dagger passives that do apply to you, you want anything to do with poison. So Murderous Energy will increase our poison duration and the damage over time. Pretty simple. And then you're going to want Destructive Fang, which is every time you attack a target that is poisoned, which we are going to have, because when we activate our poison right here and we shoot them with a bow, the 80% chance will happen with the amount of times we're hitting targets with all the arrows we're pumping into them. They have a chance to reduce their ranged, magic, and melee defenses, which just makes you do more damage, makes them easier to kill for both you and your team members, or if you're in a PvE scenario, makes the boss easier to kill for you or your team members. Shadow Walker is also a S tier passive. Using a mobility or movement skill increases your damage reduction by 14 and your range and magic evasion by 510 for 6 seconds, which is absolutely amazing because you have 2 movement abilities over into the crossbow alone, and then the defensive ability counts as a movement ability. And then the final dagger passive that you would want that would apply to bow as well is going to be Assassin's Instincts. Your critical hit chance to just flat out increase, which helps out a whole crap ton when you're doing that sort of stuff. So that is the passives, all the passives, everything you need for crossbow and dagger. Skill specializations I will leave up to you guys, but the most important ones in my humbled opinion: quick fire, make sure you put on the extra fire count and the damage increase. Ignore the cooldown, we can get the cooldown back instantly. Nimble leap, you want the second charge and reset the cooldown of quick fire so you have synergy between the 2 skills. And make sure explosive trap does have that 3-second stun, otherwise it's not really as effective as you want it to be. Over into the daggers, Shadow Strike, you want the increased range so you can cast it from farther and increase the bind duration by 1 second. Inject Venom, you just want the effects increased by 2 seconds, meaning all your poison procs will last 2 seconds longer, and if you could afford it, get the cooldown reduction as well. And the last one is Camouflage Cloak, bonus CC immunity, which is amazing and increases the cloaking duration by 2 seconds. Thank me later, it is one of the best skills in the game. I apologize for not mentioning, but for Guardians, the best Guardian is going to be, in my humble opinion, Elowen, because when they summon, there's an 80% chance you bind your enemies, and and any targets that are affected by bind have their movement speed reduced, and you get increased critical hit chances. But that is not only from the original bind. If you bind somebody during your Guardian form via Shadow Strike, which has a 62% chance to bind, at least at my level, it goes up and up. If you bind them in that form with that ability, it still counts for the critical hit chance. So you don't need to hit and proc the initial one. You could still be a Guardian and then proc that bind and get that critical hit increase. So now that we know all that, what is the combo in terms of targeting enemies? Well, make sure your Nature's Protest is activated. You don't have to be cloaked, but it helps. Make sure your Protest is activated. Activate your Q, which allows the double attack hit. It allows for more weaken. Activate your E so you can spread the poison, and then do your damage cycle. Your damage cycle would even be longer if you wanted it to be. So if you started here, yeah, that's just a spin to win short. You would actually want to weaken them first with the weaken arrow. Do your rapid fire, dash, and you want to do that while your diffusion and poison are both active for the maximum amount of damage. So if we activate both of them, as you can see, our rapids are doing an insane amount of damage. We're also spreading the poison to other targets via the lightning bolt from the Nature's Protest, because it does spread more than just the original effect. It will spread the poison as well, giving you a even better AoE option. Now the blades are something to use if someone's chasing you and you just want to slow them down. Trap for the same reasoning, because it will stun people for 3 seconds. And if somebody's chasing you and you want to go through them, that's when you activate your chains right there. They're rooted, they can't move, so on and so forth. Same with the collision shot. You could just shoot this, it'll knock people back and it'll get them off of you. Look at the bottom of the bar, memorize the skills that I'll explain, and I'm gonna do the combo right now. So as you can see, the damage potential is definitely there at the cost of your mana. So of course we go over to here. I would recommend you put some wisdom into your build. A lot of people on the Korean servers also recommend this. Right now I just have, because it's so early in the game, just 30 so I can get more max mana and just pump dexterity as much as physically possible. Later on in the game, when you get better gear, I would actually recommend going for some more perception, because it increases your hit chance, your buff duration more when those things actually matter to you. But that's the video, guys. That is the guide I have for crossbow and dagger and all the information I've learned myself. If any of you guys are more knowledgeable than I am, then let people know in the comments down below. But I'm just spreading some information based on what I'm seeing in the YouTube community. I wanted to just share some things that I feel people are not explaining clearly. So hopefully this helped you with your journey, helped you with your whole build progression in the game. And yeah, this is my first Throne of Liberty video, so hit the like button down below, as it does spread out my content to more people in the community. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on another video from me, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you all later.